Have you ever walked through a parking lot and spotted a truck so bizarre, so outrageous, that you had to stop and wonder, what were they thinking? Well, the 1970s were full of moments like that. While muscle cars were being strangled by emissions laws and gas prices were going through the roof, American truck makers went absolutely wild. They slapped denim on dashboards, bolted smokestack exhausts behind cabs, and created machines that looked like fever dreams on wheels. Today, we are counting down 20 forgotten American trucks from the 70s that genuinely shocked the world. If you enjoy this kind of content, hit that like button and subscribe. Now let us get into it. Number 20. The Chevrolet C20 Longhorn. In the 1970s, everybody wanted more bed space, but nobody wanted a full-on dually setup. Chevrolet answered with the Longhorn, a stretched bed version of the C20 that offered extra cargo room without the wider rear axle of dual rear wheels. It rode on a reinforced frame with heavy-duty springs, and most examples came with a big block V8 under the hood. Ranchers loved it. Contractors swore by it. Weekend warriors used it to haul campers and horse trailers without breaking a sweat. But here is the problem. These trucks lived brutally hard lives. They were work trucks in every sense, spending decades hauling loads through rain, mud, and snow. Rust ate them alive, especially in wetter climates, and the combination of heavy use and minimal garage time meant clean examples vanished fast. By the time collectors started paying attention to 70s trucks, the Longhorn had already faded into obscurity. Today, finding one in decent condition is like finding a needle in a haystack, and the few that surface carry surprisingly hefty prices for a truck most people have never even heard of. Number 19. The Ford Courier. Before there was a Ford Ranger, there was the Ford Courier, and most people have completely forgotten it existed. In 1972, small Japanese trucks were stealing market share, and the big three were caught flat-footed. Ford needed a compact truck fast, so they called their partner Mazda. The result was the Courier, basically a Mazda B series wearing a blue oval badge and a different grille. A tiny 1.8-liter four-cylinder put out about 74 horsepower, which was not earth-shattering, but that was the point. This truck was about fuel economy. At a time when full-size trucks guzzled gas, the Courier squeezed roughly 30 miles out of a single gallon on the highway. The styling was simple, almost utilitarian, and the interior was as no-frills as possible. But it worked. Ford sold them steadily throughout the 70s. Then in 1983, the domestically built Ranger showed up, and the Courier vanished overnight. The few that survive today have developed a small but passionate cult following among people who appreciate what this little truck represented, the moment American automakers admitted they needed help from Japan to compete. Number 18. The GMC Sierra Classic Beau James. In 1975, during one of America's worst recessions, GMC released a luxury half-ton pickup called the Beau James. The name sounds like it belongs on a riverboat gambler, and that was sort of the point. This was GMC's attempt to push the pickup into upscale territory when most trucks still had rubber floor mats and vinyl bench seats. The Beau James came loaded with two-tone paint, plush interior appointments, chrome everywhere, and a level of refinement almost unheard of in the truck world. Based on the already fancy Sierra Classic platform, the Beau James took luxury further. This was a truck you could drive to a nice dinner without feeling out of place. The problem was timing. America was dealing with an oil crisis and economic uncertainty. A luxury truck was a tough sell when people worried about paying for gas. Production numbers were tiny, and the Beau James never caught on. It quietly disappeared after a short run, and today, even hardcore GMC enthusiasts sometimes struggle to identify one. If you ever spot a Beau James at a car show, you are looking at something genuinely rare, a truck that predicted the luxury pickup trend decades before it actually took off. Number 17. The Jeep J10 Honcho. In the late 1970s, Jeep decided that off-road capability alone was not enough. Enter the Honcho package, available on the J10 pickup starting in 1976. Subtlety was not on the menu. The Honcho came with bold, aggressive decals splashed across the sides, wide track axles that gave it a muscular stance, and AMC V8 engines that provided plenty of grunt. You could get it with the Quadra-Track four-wheel drive system, one of the more capable setups available at the time. But the Honcho was not just about going off-road. It was about looking good while doing it. The graphics packages were loud and proud, featuring stripes and lettering that screamed 70s in the best possible way. Inside, you got upgraded seats and trim that felt a step above the standard J10. Jeep marketed it toward younger buyers who wanted adventure and style in one package. For a few years, it worked beautifully. But Jeep's truck division was always overshadowed by its SUV lineup, and as the 80s approached, the J-Series pickups faded from public consciousness. Today, a clean Honcho is a legitimate collector's item that commands serious respect at any truck meet, especially among off-road enthusiasts who appreciate its combination of real capability and unapologetic 70s attitude. Number 16. The Dodge D100 Adventurer SE. Here is a truck that was quietly ahead of its time and never got the credit it deserved. While Ford and Chevy were offering bare-bones truck interiors, Dodge went all in with the Adventurer SE, chrome bumpers, body side moldings, optional two-tone paint, and an interior featuring plush bucket seats, wood grain dash accents, and deep pile carpeting. This was a truck you could drive to a job site on Monday and a dinner date on Friday. Under the hood, buyers had their pick, from the reliable slant 6 all the way up to the thundering 440 V8. Transmission choices included 3-speed manual, 4-speed manual, or 3-speed automatic, giving plenty of flexibility. The Adventurer SE was versatile, comfortable, and genuinely good-looking. But it had one major problem. It was a Dodge. In the 70s, Ford and Chevy dominated so completely that Dodge was essentially an afterthought. The Adventurer SE never got the marketing push it needed, and buyers defaulted to the F-150 or C10 without giving Dodge a serious look. It is a genuine shame, because this truck offered a vision of the future that would eventually become the industry standard. Every modern luxury pickup owes a debt to what Dodge tried to do here first. Number 15. The Plymouth Trail Duster. Yes, Plymouth made a truck. Well, sort of. The Trail Duster was technically a sport utility vehicle built on the same platform as the Dodge Ramcharger. But in the 70s, lines between trucks and SUVs were blurry at best. Introduced in 1974, it offered full-time four-wheel drive, a removable fiberglass top, and engine options up to a 360 V8. On paper, it should have been a hit. It had everything that made the Ford Bronco and Chevy Blazer popular, plus the novelty of carrying the Plymouth badge. But that was also its biggest liability. Plymouth was known for cars, not trucks. The Trail Duster sat on dealer lots alongside Valiants and Furies, and most salespeople had no idea how to market it, like putting a hiking boot in a store full of dress shoes. It flew under the radar for its entire production run, which lasted until the early 80s. It never came close to Bronco or Blazer sales. Most surviving examples were driven hard, exposed to the elements with their tops off, and eventually left to rust. The few in good condition today are prized by a dedicated community of Plymouth enthusiasts who love this forgotten oddball. Number 14. The Ford F-250 Highboy. Talk to any serious Ford truck enthusiast, and the word highboy will make their eyes light up. Produced from 1967 through 1977, the F-250 Highboy earned its nickname from its towering ride height. A divorce transfer case created a distinctive gap between the cab and bed, and it rode on massive Dana 60 rear axles that could survive the most brutal terrain. The highboy was not designed to be comfortable or refined. It was designed to go absolutely anywhere, and it did. Ranchers in the American West relied on these trucks to navigate terrain that would destroy lesser vehicles. The ride was rough, the steering was heavy, and the interior was about as luxurious as a toolbox. Nobody cared because the highboy was virtually indestructible. In 1978, Ford redesigned the F-250 with a new transfer case that lowered the ride height, and just like that, the highboy era ended. Enthusiasts mourned immediately, and the older trucks became instant collectibles. Today, clean highboys command eye-watering prices, and the name has become legendary in four-wheel drive circles. The factory stance of the highboy literally towers over modern lifted trucks, and it achieved that without a single aftermarket modification. That is engineering confidence. Number 13. The International Harvester D-Series. International Harvester is a name most people associate with farm equipment, not pickup trucks. But from 1969 through 1975, IH produced the D-Series, one of the most versatile and underappreciated trucks of its era. The configuration options were staggering: 7 different wheelbases, single cab and quad cab versions called the Travelette, short and long beds, inline 6s and V8s ranging from modest to massive, even a suburban-style wagon called the Travelall. If you could imagine a truck setup, International Harvester probably offered it. The build quality was tank-like: heavier axles than the competition, sturdier frames, leaf springs that could handle loads that would make a Ford or Chevy sag. But IH had a fundamental problem. Their dealer network was primarily rural, focused on farm equipment. As trucks grew popular with suburban buyers, IH could not compete with the Big Three's showroom experience. The oil crisis of 1973 sealed the deal. IH trucks were heavier and thirstier than anything else on the market. By April 1975, the D-Series was dead, and International Harvester retreated to commercial trucks and the Scout. An entire era of American trucking ended, and most people never even knew it existed. Number 12. The Ford F-150 Bicentennial Edition. In 1976, America turned 200 years old, and Ford marked the occasion with a special edition F-150, draped in patriotic red, white, and blue accents. The Bicentennial Edition featured commemorative exterior paint schemes, special badging, and interior touches that set it apart from the standard lineup. Under the hood, it ran Ford's reliable 6-cylinder and V8 engines, so this was not a performance truck. It was a celebration truck, a rolling tribute to American independence. Ford was tapping into the national mood to sell extra units, and it worked in the short term. But commemorative editions are novelties. Once the party was over, the Bicentennial F-150 became just another truck. Many ended up as daily work vehicles, and the special paint took a beating over the years. Production numbers were relatively limited, and finding one today in original condition is extraordinarily difficult. The special graphics and trim that made it unique were the first things to deteriorate. For collectors who appreciate American history and American trucks in equal measure, the Bicentennial Edition represents a perfect snapshot of 1976, a moment when patriotism and pickup trucks intersected in the most delightfully 70s way imaginable. Number 11. The Chevrolet LUV stood for Light Utility Vehicle, and Chevrolet did not actually build it. When small trucks exploded in the early 70s, General Motors panicked. Japanese manufacturers were selling compact pickups faster than Detroit could react. So GM called their partner Isuzu, who had just developed the faster pickup. Chevy slapped a bow tie badge on it, changed the grille, and shipped it to American dealers starting in 1972. The truck was tiny. A 1.8-liter four-cylinder produced just 75 horsepower, and a 4-speed manual was the only initial transmission. But it was cheap and fuel-efficient, squeezing incredible mileage during the oil crisis. Sales climbed from 21,000 in its first year to over 100,000 by 1979. An upscale Mikado trim was added, along with four-wheel drive and automatic transmission options. Over its decade-long run, Chevy moved more than 500,000 LUVs. Then the S10 showed up, and the LUV vanished almost instantly. Today, these little trucks have a cult following, partly because enthusiasts discovered you can swap a Chevy small block V8 into the tiny engine bay. The result is terrifying and awesome in equal measure. Number 10. The Jeep J10 Golden Eagle. If the Honcho was Jeep's adventure truck, the Golden Eagle was its showpiece. Available on the J10 in the late 70s, the Golden Eagle package was visually stunning. The centerpiece was a massive eagle decal spread across the hood, wings outstretched, looking ready to take flight. Bold, dramatic, and absolutely impossible to miss. Gold wheels, a distinctive two-tone paint scheme, and interior upgrades completed the package. Under the hood, AMC V8s paired with optional quadra-track four-wheel drive gave it genuine off-road credibility. This was not just a graphics package on an ordinary truck, it was a complete visual and mechanical statement. Jeep was betting that buyers wanted trucks with personality, and they were right. The Golden Eagle attracted attention everywhere it went. But like many special editions from the 70s, it was a product of its time. As tastes changed and the economy shifted, flashy graphics fell out of fashion. Production numbers were modest, and many Golden Eagles were driven into the ground by owners who valued capability over collectability. Finding one today with that iconic hood eagle still intact is a genuine treasure hunt that rewards the patient. Number 9. The GMC Sprint. When people discuss car-truck hybrids from the 70s, they mention the El Camino and the Ranchero. Nobody mentions the GMC Sprint. Debuting in 1971, the Sprint was a badge-engineered El Camino clone sold through GMC truck dealerships. Mechanically identical. Same engines, transmissions, and platform. Different badges, slightly different trim. The numbers tell the story of its obscurity. In 1976, Chevrolet sold nearly 45,000 El Caminos. GMC managed just over 5,000 Sprints. In 1978, GMC renamed it the Caballero. Hoping a fresh identity might help, it did not. Sales remained stubbornly low through its production life, ending in 1987. The irony is beautiful. Because so few were made, the Sprint is now considerably rarer than the El Camino it was based on. A clean example that would have been ignored on a dealer lot in its day now turns heads at car shows precisely because nobody has ever seen one. For collectors who want something different, something that demonstrates genuine automotive knowledge, the GMC Sprint is one of the most satisfying finds of the entire decade. Number 8. The Dodge D100 Jean Machine. If you thought denim was just for jeans, Dodge had other ideas. In the mid-70s, the denim craze was everywhere, and Dodge responded with the D100 Jean Machine. This was, and I am not making this up, a pickup truck themed entirely around denim. The exterior featured orange decals on blue paint, mimicking contrast stitching on jeans. Inside, seats were upholstered in actual denim-style fabric. It was a truck that looked like it belonged in a Levi's commercial. Mechanically, the John Machine was a perfectly competent D100, slant 6 or V8 options, standard Dodge drivetrain. It drove like any other truck of the era. But that was beside the point. The Jean Machine was about style, and it delivered in the most wonderfully ridiculous way possible. Production numbers were extremely limited, and most lost their unique interiors to wear and tear over the decades. Finding one today with original denim upholstery intact is nearly impossible, turning this goofy novelty into a legitimate collector's item. Sometimes the strangest ideas from the strangest decade age the best. Number 7. The Ford Ranchero GT. The Ford Ranchero never quite fit any category, and the 70s GT version exemplified that identity crisis perfectly. Was it a car? Was it a truck? Ford said yes to both. Based on the Torino platform, the early 70s Ranchero GT featured aggressive styling with sculpted lines and a Coke bottle profile that looked like a muscle car with a bed. And under the hood, it could be won. Buyers could option engines up to the 429 Super Cobra Jet with a shaker hood scoop. In performance form, the Ranchero GT competed with dedicated muscle cars at the drag strip while hauling half a ton of cargo, the ultimate do-everything vehicle. But emissions regulations strangled its performance as the decade progressed. The final generation, from 1977 to 79, was downsized and lost its muscle car appeal. When Ford discontinued the Ranchero, the car-truck hybrid concept essentially died in America. Today, early 70s GT models are among the most capable and stylish vehicles of the decade, yet they are often overlooked in favor of the El Camino. That is a mistake that collectors are slowly beginning to correct. Number 6. The Ford F-150 Freewheeling Edition. By the late 70s, Ford decided to bring custom van energy to the pickup world. The Freewheeling Edition transformed a standard F-150 into something that looked like it belonged on a surfing magazine cover. The package included a bold, colorful decal set that screamed 70s. Stripes, graphics, and the freewheeling logo were plastered across the exterior in combinations that could only have been designed in the decade that also brought us disco. But it was not all show. The Freewheeling Edition received practical upgrades too. A front bumper guard for rough terrain, sporty alloy wheels, blacked-out bumpers and grille, and a dashboard that proudly displayed the freewheeling decal on the passenger side. This was Ford saying, trucks can be fun. At a time when most pickups came in basic white or brown, the Freewheeling Edition was a splash of personality. It attracted younger buyers who saw their truck as a lifestyle extension, not just a tool. The 70s versions particularly capture the spirit of the era, snapshots of the moment when American trucks began evolving from workhorses into lifestyle vehicles. Ford was leading the charge with some of the boldest factory graphics the industry had ever seen. Number 5. The Dodge Macho Power Wagon. If one truck name perfectly captures the attitude of the 1970s, it is the Macho Power Wagon. And yes, that was its actual name. Part of Dodge's infamous adult toys lineup, the Macho was what happened when subtlety took a day off. Introduced in the late 70s, it came from the factory with something almost unheard of at the time, a factory lift kit. In an era when lifted trucks meant aftermarket shops, Dodge delivered an aggressive stance right off the showroom floor. The exterior was loud, bold stripes, aggressive graphics, and a posture that said this truck could climb over anything. Inside, bucket seats with a fold-down center console mimicked a muscle car cockpit rather than a work truck bench. A fat bed-mounted roll bar completed the statement. The Macho Power Wagon even earned television fame when a similar truck appeared in Simon & Simon during the 80s. Production numbers are genuinely impossible to pin down because Dodge offered different variations over several years with varying stripes and equipment. Nobody has ever produced an accurate total. What we know is the Macho Power Wagon was one of the most outrageous factory trucks of the decade, and a well-preserved example today is a serious collector's prize. Number 4. The Dodge D1 50 Warlock. The Warlock might be the coolest name ever given to a pickup truck, and it lived up to the promise. Introduced in 1977 as part of Dodge's adult toys lineup, the Warlock was designed for people who wanted a truck that felt like a muscle car. Most Warlocks wore black paint with gold pinstripe accents, creating a dark, mysterious aesthetic unlike anything else on the road. Thick chrome bumpers, wood side rails on the bed, and gold wheels completed the look. Inside, black leather-trimmed seats with a center console borrowed from the muscle car playbook. Under the hood, the star was the mighty 440 cubic inch V8, turning the Warlock into a genuine pavement pounder. This was not a truck for hauling hay bales. This was for cruising, for showing off, for making a statement. And it made one. The Warlock generated enough enthusiasm that Dodge recently revived the name for a modern Ram trim package. But the original 70s version remains the definitive expression of what that name represents. Dark, powerful, and unlike anything else on the road. A well-preserved Warlock today turns more heads than trucks costing 10 times as much. It is the embodiment of 70s truck attitude distilled into one menacing package. Number 3. The International Harvester Scout Terra. While technically a compact pickup, the Scout Terra was International Harvester's attempt to compete in the small truck market, and it was unlike anything else available. Based on the legendary Scout II platform, the Terra added a longer wheelbase and a proper pickup bed, bridging the gap between off-road SUV and compact truck. Introduced in 1976, the Terra offered genuine four-wheel drive capability that most compact trucks could only dream about. While the Ford Courier and Chevy LUV were street-oriented mini-trucks, the Scout Terra could actually handle serious off-road terrain. Engine options ranged from inline 4-cylinders to V8s, giving buyers everything from fuel efficiency to real power. The build quality was quintessential International Harvester, meaning everything was overbuilt and heavy-duty. Beefier axles, stronger frames, thicker body panels. This was a truck built by a company that manufactured tractors, and it showed. The Terra found loyal followers among outdoor enthusiasts, but IH's mounting financial troubles doomed it. When International Harvester exited the consumer vehicle market in the early 80s, the Scout Terra went with it. The Scout name has since been revived as an electric vehicle brand, but the original Terra remains one of the most capable small trucks the decade ever produced. Number 2. The Dodge Midnight Express. If you know the Lil Red Express, congratulations. But have you heard of its shadowy sibling? The Midnight Express was the Lil Red's evil twin and one of the rarest pickups of the entire 1970s. While the Lil Red wore flashy canyon red paint and grabbed magazine covers, the Midnight Express rolled out in sinister black with gold striping, gold wheels, and the same aggressive step-side bed and vertical exhaust stacks. It looked like the Lil Red had gone to the dark side. Under the hood, most ran a 5.9-liter V8. But some buyers convinced dealers to install the massive 7.2-liter 440, turning a fun truck into a straight-line menace. Estimates put production at roughly 200 units. Emissions regulations limited where it could be sold, and Dodge never bothered with national marketing. Only certain dealers in certain states even knew about it. Today, finding a genuine Midnight Express is a unicorn hunt. Clones and tributes abound. Verifying authenticity requires VIN documentation, period advertising, and serious detective work. For collectors willing to do the homework, the Midnight Express is the ultimate Mopar truck prize and arguably the rarest factory pickup of the entire decade. Number 1. The Dodge Lil Red Express. And here it is, the truck that shocked the entire automotive world. In 1978, the fastest vehicle in America was not a Corvette, not a Trans Am. It was a bright red pickup truck with chrome smokestack exhausts and Western graphics on the doors. The Lil Red Express was born from a brilliant loophole. The Clean Air Act required catalytic converters on cars, but exempted light trucks over 6,000 pounds. Tom Hoover, the legendary father of the 426 Hemi, saw the opportunity. He built a muscle machine disguised as a pickup, a modified 360 cubic inch V8 based on police engine specs, camshaft from a 1968 340, superflow heads, Carter 4-barrel carburetor, cold air intake. The result was 225 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque in an era when muscle cars barely managed half that. Car and Driver tested it against 7 vehicles, and this pickup was fastest to 100 miles per hour. Quarter mile in the high 15s, 0 to 60 in 6.7 seconds. It outran the Corvette. A truck with oak wood planking in its bed outran the Corvette. Dodge built 2,188 in 78 and 5,118 in 79 before the loophole closed. Marketed as part of the adult toys lineup with ads that said, "Remember when you used to play with trucks? You still can." Brash, bold, completely ridiculous, and genuinely faster than every sports car in America. That is why the Lil Red Express is not just the most shocking forgotten truck of the 70s. It is one of the most audacious vehicles in American automotive history, period. And there you have it. 20 forgotten American trucks from the 1970s that genuinely shocked the world. From denim-covered Dodges to luxury GMCs that nobody bought, from Japanese imports wearing American badges to a little red truck that outran every sports car in the country, the 70s were absolutely wild for the truck market. Which one surprised you the most? Did we miss any? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trip through automotive history, smash that like button and subscribe so you do not miss our next countdown. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.